Welcome back to my series on crypto wallets. In the previous episode 1, we explored why Metamask has grown to become an indispensable tool in crypto and what were the best practices to set it up. And now, in episode 2, I'm going to share the various Metamask ecosystem features we saw in that chart from earlier, starting with how to buy, send, and store your tokens. And more specifically, I'm going to show how to do this like a professional investor so you can potentially save hundreds, if not thousands of dollars in those fiat to crypto on-ramping fees. If that sounds interesting to you, then let's dig in.
Like I'm on my tiptoes, baby. You think a little too small. I got big goals, baby. Ain't where the money at. Look, I just need the info. Pronto, I go and get it and split it with my kinfolk daily. And I'm the type of might change my number.
So, to showcase all of the great Metamask features, let's use that chart of the Metamask ecosystem I created and work our way around these features, starting with the most straightforward, which is just buying, storing, and sending tokens in our wallet. So let's head over to the Metamask wallet we set up in part 1. And let's say we want to buy some Ethereum. Well, to do this, first make sure you're on the correct network. So I need to switch up here from Binance Smart Chain to Ethereum. And now, once on the Ethereum network, click on the buy button here, and it will take you to this menu showing a range of third-party applications where you can buy crypto and it will go directly into the wallet. Now, this list may vary depending what region you're in, but let's just take an example and go to MoonPay. You're greeted with this screen where you need to input how much crypto you would like to buy. So let's just put in only £10. You'll notice there is a minimum transaction amount, so you'll need to increase this to at least £30. Next, click Continue to go ahead and pay, and you'll see that you have to enter in an email address for verification before you can enter your card details. So just do that. Now click Continue. Next, input the verification code from the email and accept the T's and C's. Next, choose either a bank transfer or a card payment and enter in your personal bank details. Once complete, click Continue to review the transaction. The last step is to take a selfie and a scanned photo of your passport or ID, and this is for the legal Know Your Customer requirements. To do this, just click through, enter your ID information, and then scan the QR code using your mobile phone and follow the prompts to take a photo of your ID document. Once submitted, it will automatically verify your ID. Once completed, we can now check the transaction. So on the top line here, this is my payment card. The next line shows my Metamask Ethereum address the coins will be sent to. And this is a summary of the transaction. And under the drop down, there's a breakdown of the fees. I'll get more into that in the next section. Next, click to accept the terms of use and then pay. Read the final check here, and if you're happy, go ahead and let's confirm the order. So there you go. It's gone ahead and accepted the payment, and now MoonPay will process and send that Ethereum into my Metamask wallet. So only 3 minutes later, and you can see here it's already been processed and delivered. So if we head back to Metamask, you can see my Ethereum balance has now increased. And if we go to the activity tab, here's that transaction. And if you click, it will show you all the details. And then click again to view this on the Blockchain Explorer. And there's the $30 worth of the Ethereum. And it shows here also the transaction fees. Now, this brings me on to the next topic, which is the fees of doing it through this method, which isn't that great. So to illustrate the issue with fees, I'm going to use an example of buying the stablecoin US dollar Tether. So if we head back to MoonPay, and let's imagine we're going to buy £1,000 worth of Tether. Well, under the drop down, it gives you a breakdown of the fees. And first, you have the network gas cost fee, which is only 0.61 pence. Then you have the processing fee from MoonPay, which is £16.71. And that will buy you from £1,000, $1,169 worth of Tether. But what it doesn't show you is the currency conversion. And you have to watch out for this. It's quite crafty. So to demonstrate this, if you go to XE, let's convert pounds to dollars on today's rate. So the rate today is $1.205. Now, I'm going to use a spreadsheet to compare that to MoonPay. So the starting amount was £1,000. And then here's the exchange rate, 1.205. So that would give us $1,205. Well, based on MoonPay, they were going to give us 1,169. So we'll put that in here, 1,169.8. Well, that's a difference of $35.40. And then if we convert that back into pounds using the same exchange rate, that works out at £29.37 or pence. Now, gas fees, it's now 0.58 pence. Okay. And then the processing fee, £16.71. Okay. So down here, I've got the total of all those three things combined is £46.66, which converted back into dollars again would be $56. So if we now compare that total combined cost to the original starting amount at the top on a percentage basis, it works out at nearly 5%. And the lion's share of that is actually coming from that amount lost on the currency conversion. So, it's not great, to be honest. And it gets even worse if you're going to do larger amounts. So I tried looking at some of the other alternatives on Metamask where you can buy the currency directly, such as Transact, Wire, and so on. But generally, it's the same problem with all of these. Like here, for example, on Transact, here's the same £1,000. I've selected card payment. It does actually show you the rate here, which is an improvement. But in this case, fees, even without the rate, is £45 just on the fees. And then you've got to add the currency on top of that as well. So this is just as bad, if not worse. So if you'd like to know a more cost-effective way of putting your coins into MetaMask, in the next section, I'll show a different way of doing this through a cryptocurrency exchange. For larger crypto purchases, there's an alternative 3-step process that can remove all of those costly fees. So this involves converting your own currency on Revolut, then making a payment from Revolut to your preferred crypto exchange, and then making a transfer from there to your MetaMask wallet. So to demonstrate this, if I share my Revolut app and we go into the exchange area, and let's switch this into dollars, you can see there in the top left the rate $1.2. And if you click in there, it will show you the live rates, and this is what's called the interbank rate. And this is exactly the same rate that we saw on XE earlier. Now, in this screen, you can convert your currency, and if you want to know how to use Revolut, check out my video popping up above with a deep dive explanation how to use all the tools and features in Revolut. So now let's go back onto the computer, and here's that XE rate, that 1.2. So assuming we've already converted our funds in Revolut, the next step would be to make a payment into the exchange. So I'll use the example of Binance. To make a fiat deposit, if you go to buy crypto and click on bank deposit, it will then pop up this fiat deposit screen. So in this example, we would be depositing dollars, by bank transfer, so just click continue. Now enter the amount, so $1,000, and just check the details, click to continue. And now it will give you instructions on exactly how to make that payment to make sure it's recognized when it arrives at Binance. And you have to note down all these details here with the beneficiary account details. And basically you fill this out and then send the dollars from Revolut into Binance. So I'll show you an example of one that I did before. So if we go back to Revolut and I go into my dollar account and look at transactions, here's an example of a transaction that I sent yesterday to Binance, and you can see there's the account number and Swift code, etc. for those Binance Fiat deposit details. Now, the only issue is it does take a few days for that to arrive. So to show the next step, I'm actually going to use a different exchange where I already have some funds deposited. So back to the computer. If we head over to the Bybit exchange, this is my spot wallet where I already have some funds available. So in this example, I'm going to deposit some BUSD stablecoin from my Bybit exchange into my Metamask account. So here's the Metamask on the left and here's the exchange on the right. So the next step is we need to withdraw funds from the Bybit exchange account. So click withdraw. Now we need to send it to the Metamask address. So take your address from Metamask, copy that, and then you need to insert into your wallet address. I already have this on my whitelist, so I can select that one. Next, you need to make sure that you're sending it via the correct network. So in this case, the BUSD coin belongs on the Binance Smart Chain. So chain type is BSC, B20, and amount, well, let's just send that full $51. So click all. It has the transaction fee, which is only 50 cents. So let's click submit to send the transaction from the exchange into Metamask. It gives you a summary there. Click submit. And now I have to input my security codes. So I'll just go ahead and do that. Now it's submitted. I have to wait for the transaction to process via the blockchain and arrive into Metamask. The transaction has now completed, and you can see the balance on Bybit has gone down to 0. And if we go to the transaction history, you can see the payment was successfully sent. So if we go to Metamask, the balance for BUSD has now gone up by that $50 we just sent. So that is by far the most cost-effective and efficient way to buy or send tokens into your Metamask wallet. Now, if you want to do this the other way round and send tokens from Metamask into another exchange or wallet elsewhere, we basically just do this in reverse. So in Metamask, instead of buy, we're going to click send, and then it will ask you for the address you're going to send it to. So if we were going to send it back to Bybit, you'd click on deposit under the coin you're going to send into there, and then you'd have to copy the address that you want, copy the address, paste that in this field, and then select the amount you want to send out from Metamask to wherever else you're going to send it to. It really is very simple. So for example, you could put in 100 BNB, it will give you the gas fees and so on, and then you just click through and accept all the prompts and send the transaction exactly the same as we did before.
So, I hope you find that helpful to potentially save thousands of dollars on those fiat on-ramp fees. And now we have some funds in our wallet. In episode 3, I'm going to look at how to swap tokens in the aggregator and then start exploring the DeFi universe and all the thousands of dApps and powerful tools that MetaMask can connect to as a professional investor. If that sounds interesting and you'd like to hear more, then hit that subscribe button and notification bell down there. Also, drop me any comments if you'd like to hear more or you would like to see certain topics covered in the next episode. Otherwise, I hope you've enjoyed watching. Have a great day. I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.
I ain't surprised at all. Seen them rise and fall. Went up the mountain, it wasn't hard to climb at all. At the top, I found some relief. I finally got some peace.